And the next topic is that Vijayanagar, that is the foreign travelers who visited Vijayanagar. Next topic, foreign travelers who visited Vijayanagar. Foreign travelers who visited Vijayanagar. Abdul Razak, he was the first important foreign traveler who visited Vijayanagar. Abdul Razak. Abdul Razak, he visited Vijayanagar. And Abdul Razak, he was from Persia. Abdul Razak was from Persia, and he visited Vijayanagar during the period of Devaraya II. Devaraya II. So the first foreign traveler to Vijayanagar was Abdul Razak. And he visited Vijayanagar during the period of Devaraya II, and Abdul Razak was from Persia. Then next traveler was an Italian, Niccolo di Conti. Niccolo di Conti. He was an Italian, a Roman traveler, Italian. He also visited during the period of Devaraya II. He also visited Vijayanagar during the period of Devaraya II. Niccolo di Conti. Then the next, Athanasius Nikitin. Next foreign traveler, Athanasius Nikitin. And he was from Russia. Also during the period of Devaraya II. So Abdul Razak, Niccolo di Conti, and Athanasius Nikitin, all the three visited during the period of Devaraya II. And next, other famous travelers are Domingo Paez, and Barbosa. Both of them from Portugal. Domingo Paez and Barbosa were the Portuguese travelers. Domingo Paez and Barbosa, Portuguese travelers. And they visited during the period of Krishna Devaraya. They visited during the period of Krishna Devaraya. Visited during the period of Krishna Devaraya. Then another traveler again from Portugal, that was Nunes. Nunes was the next traveler. And this Nunes visited during the period of Achyuta Devaraya. Achyuta Devaraya. Achyuta Devaraya. He visited during the period of Achyuta Devaraya. So this is regarding Vijayanagar. Something little more on Vijayanagar will be the temple architecture and all that we will see when we deal with art and culture class. And something we will discuss again when we deal with South India also. Then another topic is Bahmani Kingdom. Bahmani Kingdom. Bahmani Kingdom. Next one, Bahmani Kingdom. So Bahmani Kingdom was established in the year 1347 in Deccan. It was established in 1347 in Deccan, and this was a result of revolt against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. This was a result of a revolt against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. This was a result of revolt against Muhammad bin Tughlaq by his revenue officers of Deccan. By his revenue officers of Deccan. And the revenue officers were called Amir-e-Zada. Amir-e-Zada. That was the name of the Tughlaq's revenue officer. Excuse me. Tughlaq's revenue officer. He was called Amir-e-Zada. And this Amir-e-Zada, one officer in charge of 100 villages. Sada means they hear 100. So for every 100 village, there was a revenue officer. And as I already mentioned, that Tughlaq's officers were very corrupt. His officers were very corrupt. And because of that corruption, Tughlaq wanted to replace all these officers. When Tughlaq tried to replace them, they joined together. All the Amir-e-Zada joined together and they fought against Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and he was thrown out from the power in Deccan. And it was established by, and this Bahmani kingdom was established by Hasan Gangu. Hasan Gangu. But when he became the ruler, he changed the name Alauddin Bahman Shah. So Hasan Gangu became the Sultan as Sultan Alauddin Bahman Shah, and Bahman Shah's kingdom, Bahmani kingdom. That's how this Bahmani kingdom came into prominence. All throughout its existence, Bahmanis fought with Vijayanagar. All throughout its existence, Bahmanis fought with Vijayanagar. See, if this was Vijayanagar, Bahmani kingdom was something like this. So this was the Bahmanis, the green color, and the red color was the Vijayanagar. All throughout their existence, they fought against each other. So throughout their existence, Bahmanis were always at war with Vijayanagar. And the most important reason for the fight was the Krishna Tungabhadra Dwab. Krishna Tungabhadra Dwab. That is a land between Krishna and Tungabhadra rivers. Land between Krishna and Tungabhadra rivers. Krishna Tungabhadra Dwab, also called Raichur Dwab. Raichur Dwab. This was the main reason for the fight. Then the coastal Andhra was there, Konkan was there, but the major reason was Krishna Tungabhadra Dwab. Then next, the first capital of Bahmani kingdom was Gulbarga. The first capital was Gulbarga. And later, in 1422, it was shifted to Bidar. Gulbarga and Bidar. The most famous personalities of Bahmani kingdom were Sultan Firoz Shah Bahmani, who was a great patron of art and culture. Sultan Firoz Shah Bahmani, who was a great patron of art and culture. Firoz Shah Bahmani, he was a great patron of art and culture. And Mahmud Gawan, the Prime Minister. Mahmud Gawan, who was the Prime Minister of Bahmani state. So these two are the leading figures of this entire Bahmani history. And during their period, under Bahmani is when, during the period of Mahmud Gawan, Bahmanis were the top power in South India. And after Mahmud Gawan only, this Vijayanagar and all came into prominence. Then, in the early 16th century, Bahmani kingdom got split into 5 successor states. Bahmani kingdom got split into 5 successor states. Bahmani kingdom got split into 5 successor states, and they were so Bahmanis got split into 5, and that 5 were so these were the 5 successor states of the Bahmanis, 5 successors of the Bahmani kingdom. 5 states were there, and they were Ahmednagar, Nizam Shahis of Ahmednagar, Nizam Shahis of Ahmednagar, Nizam Shahis of Ahmednagar, Adil Shahis of Bijapur, Adil Shahis of Bijapur, Barid Shahis of Bidar, Barid Shahis of Bidar, Barid Shahis of Bidar, then Qutub Shahis of Golconda, Qutub Shahis of Golconda, and Imad Shahis of Berar. Imad Shahis of Berar. So these are the 5 states, 5 Bahmani successors. Nizam Shahis of Ahmednagar, Adil Shahis of Bijapur, Barid Shahis of Bidar, Qutub Shahis of Golconda, and Imad Shahis of Berar. So this is the history of the Bahmanis. Nothing more is required, and the successor states also not that significant. But just remember this 5 and their locations. Excuse me 1 second. Okay. So that's the topic on which period Bahmani kingdom got split. That is in the early 16th century. That is from 1500. We can say that from the split started from what we can say 1 second, 1497 onwards. 1497 onwards, the split started. And by early 15th century, that got split into different pieces. Now, next topic, medieval Indian architecture. Medieval Indian architecture. Architecture during medieval India. Architecture during the medieval India. So the establishment of Turkish rule introduced new features to the architecture. Establishment of Turkish rule introduced new features to architecture, new features into architecture. The earliest buildings, the earliest Turkish buildings in India were Quwwatul Islam Mosque, Quwwatul Islam Mosque, Quwwatul Islam Mosque, and Dai Dinka Jopda. Dai Dinka Jopda at Ajmer. Quwwatul Islam Mosque at Delhi and Dai Dinka Jopda at Ajmer. These were the first Sultanate buildings in India. These were the remodifications of Indian temples. So these were not original constructions. They were the real modification. They were the modifications of Hindu and Jain temples. Modification of Hindu and Jain temples. Quwwatul Islam Mosque was a Hindu temple. Dai Dinka Jopda was a Jain temple. That was not destroyed. That was just restructured into mosques. And bought this by Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak. I'll show you the pics. So this is the Quwwatul Islam Mosque at Delhi. So from that pillars and all, you can easily understand that it was a temple. This is near that Qutub Minar. This is in that Qutub Minar complex only. Mehroli, South Delhi. This is where you can see that this is the Quwwatul Islam Mosque. Okay, this is the remainder there now. So clearly you can understand that it was a temple. It was remodified into a mosque. This is that complex where you can enter. This is the Qutub Minar complex. This is the remaining. Now that temple and the mosque and all is not remaining there. Only that some remains is there. So this is what the beginning. The next, the first most important building was the first original construction was the Qutub Minar. The first original construction was the Qutub Minar. So you can see this big Qutub Minar constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak. It was constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutub Minar constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak in the memory of a Sufi saint. It was constructed in the memory of a Sufi saint named Khwaja Qutbuddin. Khwaja Qutbuddin. Khwaja Qutbuddin Bakhtiar Kaki. This is the name of that Sufi saint. It was in the memory of this Sufi saint, Khwaja Qutbuddin Bakhtiar Kaki. This Qutub Minar was constructed. Construction was started by Aibak, but was completed by Iltutmish. Construction started by Aibak, but it was completed by Iltutmish. But was completed by Iltutmish. So Iltutmish completed it. And then This was later renovated by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. This building was later renovated by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. That's why you can see the differences at the top portion. See, this is different from the other three. Actually, the fourth story was destroyed by a lightning, and Firoz Shah Tughlaq renovated that. That's that color difference and the pattern difference you can see there. This is a combed version. There it is a circular one. And Firoz Shah added the fifth story so that its height was increased by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. So this is the history of the Qutub Minar. So these were the constructions under the early rulers, that is the Ilbaris. Next point. The real development of the Sultanate architecture was under the Khaljis. The real development of the Sultanate architecture, that was under the Khaljis. That was under the Khaljis. They constructed the scientific dome, scientific arch, scientific dome and scientific arch. Though dome and arch was started by the Ilbaris, but that was not the perfect one. The real proportion, the scientific original dome and arch was developed by the Khaljis. You know the domes. See, Islamic buildings, you can see a construction like this at the top of their buildings. Most of you had seen that. Taj Mahal, everywhere you can see that. That is called a dome. So this is called a dome. And arches, you know that Anna Arch in Chennai and all. So this arches for the building gateways, independent arches, all this arches was also introduced by them. Then next, they adopted the pointed dome of Islamic world. So the Khalji arch was the pointed dome of Islamic world. Pointed dome of Islamic world. Actually, these domes are not Islamic. Actually, that is by the Romans. The Romans were the one who started this arch dome and all. And when the Islamic forces, they occupied the Constantinople in 1453, when they occupied the Constantinople and the Eastern Roman Empire, from there they adopted this construction. But in India, it was brought by the Turks and all. That's why we call it as the pointed dome of the Islamic world. But dome is originally not that Islamic structure, but in India, it was introduced by the Islamic, and that's why we call it as the Islamic world, the pointed dome of Islamic world. That is a dome with a point at the top. This is that point at the top. Okay. So pointed dome of Islamic world was introduced. And then the Khalji arch was pointed horseshoe arch. A pointed arch, horseshoe in shape. Pointed horseshoe arch they had. That is, arch was something like this, like a horseshoe. Horseshoe. So Khalji arch was a pointed horseshoe arch, which was beautified with lotus bud motifs or lotus buds, beautified with lotus buds. There is sculpture of lotus buds were there in this portion of the arch. So Khalji arch was pointed horseshoe, decorated with lotus bud motifs. Lotus bud motifs. Then they started the use of sandstone for construction. They started the use of sandstone for construction. Sandstone for construction. So not the old buildings remains, freshly quarried material they started using. Then they introduced a new method of stone masonry. New method of stone masonry, that is brick arrangement. They introduced new method of stone masonry, which is called headers and stretchers. That is called headers and stretchers. Headers and stretchers. headers and structures that was introduced by the Khaljis. That is the brick arrangement method. This model of brick arrangement, that is what the Khaljis, we all follow the same today. This model of brick arrangement, headers and structures, we call it as English bond in the engineering classes and all. This headers and structures was also introduced by the Khaljis. Then the prominent Khalji buildings were Alai Minar, Alai Darwaza, Siri Fort, and House Khas. All in Delhi, South Delhi only. Alai Minar, Alai Darwaza, Siri Fort, and House Khas. All by Alauddin Khalji. All these buildings were by Alauddin Khalji. All these buildings by Alauddin Khalji. Now I'll show you the pics. So this is the Alai Minar, Alai Darwaza. You can see that dome. See that pointed dome you can see. This top portion, that is the pointed dome of the Islamic world that was introduced. And this is the horseshoe arch of the Khaljis. See the horseshoe arch and the lotus buds. So this is the Khalji architecture. Horseshoe arch, pointed horseshoe arch plus the pointed dome of the Islamic world. This was what the Khaljis introduced. This is Alai Darwaza. Then Alai Minar, actually Alai Minar was constructed by Alauddin Khalji. This is the Alai Minar, but only this much was constructed. By that time he died. Actually he was unhappy that a slave like Qutbuddin Aibak constructed a Qutb Minar. As it was in the name of an Islamic Sufi saint, Alauddin did not destroy that. But Alauddin wanted to make that Qutb Minar stunted. So he wanted to construct a Minar double the height of Qutb Minar. So his plan was to construct a Minar double the height of Qutb Minar. So you could have imagined if it was completed, what would have been that. So that's why this much width in the base and all. He started well, but he died when it was constructed up to this much. So we lost a big Minar in this way. So this is regarding the Khalji architecture. Now moving to Tughlaqs. See the Tughlaqs, they had introduced many innovations. And the first and the most important innovation of Tughlaq was the sloping walls. The sloping walls was the first and the foremost innovation, which is also called battered walls. Battered walls. See, that is walls with an inward sloping. See, when we construct the building, our walls will be the straight only. See, you can just look at your buildings, your house and all. We have the straight one. But the Tughlaq, their base was wider and the walls had a slope like this. Walls were constructed like this. Okay, this is how the walls, battered walls. Not going like this and all. 25 degree to 45 degree slope was there. It's not any 90 degree like that. You can say that. It's a maximum 45 degrees. 25 degree to 45 degree slope was there. Reason is that this is having that gravity effect. Okay, the weight will be, no need to write that gravity and all those things. This is to give more strength. That is the weight. More weight can be carried by the base. That's the idea. So sloping walls or battered walls, that was their innovation. Then next one, they introduced domes with visible neck. They introduced domes with a visible neck. It's difficult to draw like this. 1 second, let me put it down and I will draw. 1 second. See, earlier domes were just like this. This was how the earlier domes were like that. Now Tughlaqs, what they did was, they constructed dome with a neck. That is, a neck portion was given, and above that they constructed it. So this portion is the what we call the neck. Hope you got it. So this is what happened. That is, they developed dome with a visible neck. Then next, they introduced four-centered arch. They introduced four-centered arches. Four-centered, F-O-U-R, four-centered. Arches in this shape. That is four bends. You can see this is the way their arches were. Those, so not that horseshoe or the round arches. This shape arches, four-centered arch. So the Tughlaqs introduced the four-centered arch. Four-centered arches. Then next one, Tughlaqs introduced octagonal plan. Tughlaqs introduced buildings with octagonal plan. That is 8 sides. 8 sides. It's not that easy to draw. 1 second. See, instead of rectangular versions, they introduced octagonal plan. And the octagonal plan was like this: 4 elongated sides and edges. They made small edges, not like 8 equal sides. This way they made the constructions. Their buildings were like this. So they introduced 8 sides, octagonal plan. Octagonal plan was introduced by the Tughlaqs, octagonal plan. Then they used cheap stone rubble for construction. Stone rubble. That is Karimgalle. In South, we call it as Karimgalle. That simple rocks was used, not the expensive sandstone. They used this cheap stone rubble for the construction. Then the prominent Tughlaq buildings were the tomb of Nizamuddin Auliya. The tomb of Nizamuddin Auliya. The tomb of Nizamuddin Auliya. Then the tomb of Khan-e-Jahan Telangani. Nizamuddin Auliya was a Sufi saint. Khan-e-Jahan, when we will study about him when we deal with Sufism. Khan-e-Jahan Telangani's tomb. Khan-e-Jahan Telangani was the prime minister of the Tughlaqs. So these 2 buildings are the prominent buildings of the Tughlaqs. Prominent buildings of the Tughlaqs. Then let me show you that battered walls and all. So this is the tomb of that Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. You can see that slope. This is a very small 25-degree slope. This is that Tughlaq architecture. So this is what the Tughlaq, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. See, four-centered arch, they introduced later. Okay, not in this building. This building, the same Khalji lotus bud horseshoe arch is seen. This is the beginning, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah Tughlaq, they only developed that four-centered arch. So this is the sloping wall. Then another example for you to understand. This is not from India. This is somewhere in Europe. See, this clearly gives the idea about the sloping walls. This is how that sloping walls were made. So these were the constructions, Tughlaq buildings. Now, next point. Sides, there was no much changes under the Sayyid rulers. The Lodhis introduced double dome. Lodhis introduced double dome. Double dome was dome within a dome. Double dome means a dome within a dome, and it was to give durability to the main dome. Purpose to give durability to main dome. That is to add strength to the building. See, this is how the construction of the domes. Dome is just like a curved roof like this. It's not constructed above that. See, earlier the buildings were very small. So these domes were not a big trouble. As the buildings became bigger, domes began to collapse. So that became a trouble. So in order to give strength to that main dome, a small dome was constructed within the dome. And this will act as a strength to the main dome. So this is what is called a double dome. So double dome was first introduced by the Lodhis, and the first double dome was in the Sikandar Lodhi's tomb. Sikandar Lodhi's tomb at Agra. The first double dome in India, that was in the tomb of Sikandar Lodhi at Agra. Tomb of Sikandar Lodhi at Agra. There was the first double dome. Then they also started the practice of constructing the buildings. They also started the practice of constructing the buildings on a high platform. On a high platform. So you create a platform, this one, and above that platform you construct the building. That practice was started by the Lodhis. So these were the most important features of the architecture during the Delhi Sultanate. The next point, for decoration of the buildings, Quranic calligraphy was used. Quranic calligraphy. That is sculpting or engraving the Quranic verses. That is Quranic calligraphy. In which language? Can you say which language was used for this Quranic calligraphy? Which language this was written? In which language? This calligraphy was in which language? Urdu? No, not Urdu. Arabic. Arabic. So Arabic language was used. Why I said Arabic? Because Arabic was never a language in India by any rulers. Turks, Mughals, all used Persian as a language. The language was Persian. Official language, court language, legal language, literary language, everything was Persian. And even Urdu originated from that Persian and the Indian languages. But Arabic, the numerals are Arabic alphabets are very beautiful. It looks like an art. So that's why Arabic calligraphy was used. So be careful that. I can say that Quranic calligraphy in Persian language was used. In our mind, it will be always Quranic calligraphy. Be careful with this Arabic concept. It can be Arabic. Then geometrical patterns. Geometrical designs, we can say. Geometrical designs. Diamond cuts. Then the square, circle. All were used to beautify, especially the windows and all, geometrical designs. Then the floral patterns. Floral patterns were used. Floral patterns were used. And the most famous version of floral pattern is arabesque. Arabesque. Arabesque was the most popular pattern of decoration. That is the creepers running and buds coming out of that. That is how this arabesque. Let me see if I have the photograph. I will show you once again. Arabesque. Arabesque I will show later. Okay, it's not in my gallery. I will show you that later. Then next, they also used colored tiles for decoration. Colored tiles for decoration. Colored tiles for decoration. Then for plastering of the buildings, lime mortar, that is limestone paste, lime mortar and gypsum. Lime mortar and gypsum was used. So lime mortar was used, gypsum was used for plastering of the buildings. So these were the features of the Sultanate architecture. Now moving to the next, Mughal architecture. Mughal architecture. Mughal architecture is termed as Indo-Islamic architecture. Indo-Islamic architecture. That is, Mughals adopted the features of Indian architecture along with the Islamic architecture. So this is called Indo-Islamic architecture. Indian features, that is a Hindu, Buddhist, all these features were taken by the Mughals. So that's why it was called Indo-Islamic, and that's why Mughal architecture represents a synthesis between arcuate and the trabeate. Arcuate and the trabeate style. Here the arcuate is the Islamic style and trabeate is the Indian style. Arcuate dominated by the arches and all. Trabeate is dominated by the lintel beam combination. See, even today the doors and the windows, we use that lintel beam combination. That is the lintel beams like this. Constructing the things by this model. This is that lintel beam combination. Whereas the Islamic thing is mainly dominated by the arches. So this arcuate and the trabeate. Arcuate is a term for the Islamic architecture, trabeate for the Indian architecture. Arcuate and trabeate synthesis is seen in the Mughal buildings. Then development. Babur. Babur constructed two mosques. One at Panipat. Babur constructed one mosque at Panipat and another mosque at Sambhal. So these were the two mosques constructed by Babur. One at Panipat and another one Sambhal. Panipat is in Haryana, Sambhal is in Uttar Pradesh. So these were the two constructions of Babur, two mosques constructed by Babur. Then he also constructed terraced gardens. Terraced gardens. That is vertical gardens. Now along the highways and all, we can see vertical gardens in the highways, in the new flat apartment projects and all. We are growing this vertical gardens. Babur had this vertical gardens at Agra. Babur had the vertical gardens at Agra. So these were the Babur's buildings. Babur didn't last long. He died in 4 years in India, so he could not construct in a big way. Then next is Humayun. He also didn't get much time. He was thrown out from India. When he came back, he died. The first prominent Mughal building was Humayun's tomb. The first prominent Mughal building was the Humayun's tomb. Humayun's tomb, that was the first prominent Mughal building, Humayun's tomb. That was the first prominent Mughal building, Humayun's tomb. And it was constructed by his wife, Sebunisa Begum. Constructed by his wife, Sebunisa Begum, also called Haji Begum. also called Haji Begum. Sebunisa Begum, also called Haji Begum. Sebunisa Begum, also called Haji Begum. This building reflects Iranian influence. Iranian influence because the architect was an Iranian. So that's why this building reflects Iranian influence. Then it had an octagonal plan. Humayun's tomb, octagonal plan. Octagonal plan. First scientific double dome in India. First scientific double dome. First double dome was in Sikandar Lodi's tomb, but first scientific double dome in Humayun's tomb. First scientific double dome. Then constructed with red sandstone. Red sandstone. Chief building material is red sandstone. Then the first Charbagh style in India. Charbagh style. That is constructing at the mid of 4 gardens. Why it is called scientific double dome means it was having the real proportion and all the measurements in the correct level. Double dome of Sikandar Lodi was in beginning only. We can say that it was a prototype. The real scientific proportion and all, that's why this is called the first scientific double dome. The real height, length, breadth, all the proportions, the shape, everything perfect. That's why this is called scientific double dome. Charbagh style, this is the Charbagh style. That is, you divide this into 4 gardens, and at the center of this 4 gardens, you construct the building. And sometimes these gardens will again divided into 4. So this is what is called a Charbagh style. So Charbagh style, red sandstone, scientific double dome, octagonal plan, Iranian influence. These all are the features of Humayun's tomb. And Humayun's tomb is also a UNESCO cultural heritage site. It is a UNESCO cultural heritage site. UNESCO cultural heritage site. Humayun's tomb. This is Humayun's tomb. This building is Humayun's tomb. You can see the Lodi feature, that high platform. You can see the 4 square gardens, Charbagh style, 4 square gardens, all the 4 sides you can see gardens, identical gardens. At the mid of that, this is constructed. This is a double dome. Inside that, there is a dome, but we can't understand that. Then you can see that 8th side, that small edges. Okay, that's what the octagonal feature. And the building is red sandstone, mainly red sandstone. Marble is here, but that is not the main material. It was just to cover that, beautify that. So marble is not a building material there. It is just an embossing material. That's it, marble. So this is the first prominent Mughal building, Humayun's tomb. The next, the real development of Mughal architecture was under Akbar. The real development of Mughal architecture, that was under Akbar. The real development of Mughal architecture was under Akbar. Akbar introduced bulbous dome. Akbar introduced bulbous dome. Bulbous dome was introduced by Akbar. So we had already mentioned domes, many types of dome, pointed dome, dome with a neck. Now Akbar introduced this model dome. Neck was there. And now this way he constructed the domes, that droppings, that this model, like a spade symbol. In the cards, we have the spade symbol. like that spade symbol, Akbar introduced this dome, which is like that old bulb. Okay. See, when the historians began to study about this, they had seen that this is like the old bulb. So that's why they call it as a bulbous dome. Looks like a bulb. You might have seen that before that CFL era, we had that old bulbs. So that bulbs were like this shape. That's why it is called a bulbous dome. Then Akbar never used a double dome in his buildings. Akbar never used a double dome in his buildings. Akbar never used a double dome in his buildings. And next, Akbar introduced curved arches or arches with curves. That's a better way to say. Arches with curves. This is like this, Akbar's arches. Akbar introduced arches like this. You might have seen this if you had visited this Mughal buildings and all. This model arches. So you can see the curves. So that is the curved arches introduced by Akbar. Akbar introduced the curved arches. Then next, lavish use of Hindu symbols. That was another feature of Akbar's buildings. Lavish use of Hindu symbols like chakra, Padma, Gaja, Swastika. So these Hindu symbols, lavish use of these Hindu symbols were another feature of Akbar's buildings. Then Akbar used a variety of building materials. Red sandstone, yellow sandstone, grey sandstone, granite, marble, all became the building material under Akbar. Red sandstone, yellow sandstone, grey sandstone, granite, marble. So a lot of building materials. Akbar introduced a lot of building materials. Red sandstone, yellow sandstone, grey sandstone, granite, marble. Lot of building materials Akbar introduced. Then next, important buildings of Akbar. Important buildings of Akbar are at Fatehpur Sikri. Fatehpur Sikri, that was Akbar's capital. Capital constructed by Akbar, Fatehpur Sikri. Fatehpur Sikri and at Agra. These are the two places we can see the architectural marvels of Akbar. So first, let's see the buildings at Fatehpur Sikri. Buildings at Fatehpur Sikri. Buland Darwaza. This is not Buland Darwaza. One second. Okay, I got it wrong. One second. Yeah, this is Buland Darwaza. Buland Darwaza. One second, I will write it. Buland Darwaza. This is the gateway of Fatehpur Sikri. It's a gateway of Fatehpur Sikri. Gateway of Fatehpur Sikri. Constructed to commemorate Akbar's conquest of Gujarat. Constructed to commemorate Akbar's conquest of Gujarat. Akbar conquered Gujarat, and it was in the memory of his Gujarat conquest, Akbar constructed this Fatehpur Sikri's Buland Darwaza, the gateway. Constructed using yellow sandstone. Yellow sandstone. So you can see this yellow sandstone. And you can see that Quranic calligraphy also there. This is the yellow sandstone. And the shape of this building is a half dome portal. Half dome portal. Half dome portal. See, you look at that gateway. It's just like a dome cut into half. It's like a half dome. That shape of that, you cut a dome and it will be fixed there. So that's why it is called half dome portal. No need to worry much. Remember, half dome portal is used there. So this is the first prominent building of Fatehpur Sikri, Buland Darwaza. Then second one in Fatehpur Sikri, the tomb of Sheikh Salim Chisti. The tomb of Sheikh Salim Chisti, a Sufi saint. This is the second prominent building of Fatehpur Sikri, the tomb of Sheikh Salim Chisti. This is the first Mughal building in which marble became the chief building material. First Mughal building in which marble became the chief building material. Marble became the chief building material. First Mughal building in which marble became the chief building material. Tomb of Sheikh Salim Chisti. The next, Panch Mahal. This is the next building in Fatehpur Sikri, Panch Mahal. As the name suggests, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 buildings, 5 stories, Panch Mahal. Based on Buddhist architectural pattern. This is based on Buddhist architectural pattern. Based on Buddhist architectural pattern. Maybe that conical effect. Buddhist architectural pattern, and this building was for the recreation of royal ladies. This building was for the recreation of royal ladies. So only royal ladies was allowed there. It was for the recreation of royal ladies. So that is Panch Mahal. The next one, this is Diwan-e-Khas. Not able to write, 1 second. Yeah. Diwan-e-Khas. It's the private court of the emperor. Private court. Diwan-e-Khas is the private court of the emperor, where audience was given to foreign ambassadors and allied kings. Diwan-e-Khas, the private court of the emperor, where emperor gave audience to foreign ambassadors and allied kings. So elite court, we can say. Only the elites were allowed there, foreign dignitaries as well as the allied kings. So that is the next building at Fatehpur Sikri, Diwan-e-Khas. The next one, this is a panoramic view of Fatehpur Sikri. This one. This is Diwan-e-Aam. Diwan-e-Aam. As the name suggests, Aam, common, Aam Admi, the public court of the emperor. Public court of the emperor, Diwan-e-Aam. the public court of the emperor. That is Diwan-e-Aam, public court. So Aam and Khas, remember Aam Admi, public, common. Then next, Anup Talao. Anup Talao. It's the water pool or the pool of Fatehpur Sikri. Anup Talao. Anup Talao. Looks very dirty now. But imagine just some 200, 300 years back, Mughal emperor used to sit here in the Paurnami nights, full moon day. The Mughal emperor will sit here and all the musicians, dancers and all will be performing here. So this is with a great history, but now looks very ugly. So that is Anup Talao, again Fatehpur Sikri. Then next, it's shown in Jodha Akbar movie. Okay. And then next one, Juma Masjid Fatehpur Sikri. Juma Masjid of Fatehpur Sikri. Juma Masjid of Fatehpur Sikri. I don't think I had that picture with me, but you write this. Juma Masjid Fatehpur Sikri. This building is called Romance on a Stone. Romance, not on, romance in a stone. Romance in a stone. Nothing, just someone said that this is so beautiful, and that's why that traveler mentioned that this Juma Masjid Fatehpur Sikri is a romance in a stone. But no, if we see that, we don't feel anything there. Okay, so it's not that beautiful as such. But anyway, maybe at that time it was so beautiful. Juma Masjid Fatehpur Sikri. Then next, Ibadat Khana. Ibadat Khana. We already discussed Ibadat Khana. I think yesterday we discussed that Ibadat Khana, the hall of prayers, the place where Akbar had religious debates. That was also in Fatehpur Sikri, Ibadat Khana. Then the palace of Mariam Uz Zamani. Palace of Mariam Uz Zamani, which is wrongly now called as Jodha's palace. Okay, Jodha was not Mariam Uz Zamani. Mariam Uz Zamani was different one. Historically, it is Mariam Uz Zamani's palace, but the folk tales say it is Jodha's palace. And also Birbal's palace. This is also a folk story only. We don't have any evidence, Birbal's palace. Birbal and Jodha are the folk creations. Because even the leading Mughal nobles never had a palace in the capital. How can a very small Mansabdar like Birbal will get a palace? Okay. And I will show you that Jodha's palace also. Jodha's palace. Where is Jodha's palace? Yeah, this one. This is the so-called Jodha's palace or the tomb of Mariam Uz Zamani. So these were the prominent buildings at Fatehpur Sikri. Then the next prominent, and Fatehpur Sikri is also UNESCO Cultural Heritage Site. Entire Fatehpur Sikri complex is a UNESCO Cultural Heritage Site. Not tomb, I said tomb of Mariam Uz Zamani or palace. It is palace, not tomb. Palace of Mariam Uz Zamani. Okay, if I said tomb, correct it. It is palace. I think I said it is palace, Jodha's palace. Tomb, not tomb. It is the palace of Mariam Uz Zamani, palace of Jodha, not tomb of Mariam Uz Zamani. Okay. Then next prominent construction of Akbar is the Agra Fort. This is the next prominent construction of Akbar, Agra Fort. This is also one of the marvelous constructions, Agra Fort of Akbar. This is also UNESCO Cultural Heritage Site. Agra Fort is also a UNESCO Cultural Heritage Site. Agra Fort. So these were the prominent constructions by Akbar. So Akbar's main constructions, these were the prominent constructions of Akbar. Okay. Now next, moving to Jahangir. Jahangir, he completed the construction of Akbar's tomb at Sikandra. He completed the construction. That means it was started by Akbar, but Akbar died before the completion, and so it was completed by Jahangir. So Sikandra, he completed the construction of Akbar's tomb at Sikandra with the modifications in the original plan. With the modifications in the original plan. With modifications in the original plan. So original plan, there was modifications. This was the first Mughal building with minarets. First Mughal building with minarets. First Mughal building with minarets. See the minars. This is the gateway of Fatehpur Sikri. Sorry, Sikandra tomb. See the minars attached to the buildings. Earlier, Qutub Minar, Alai Minar, this Minar, that Minar, all were independent minars. Now the era of independent minars came to an end. Minars now became a part of the main building. So this is the first Mughal building with minarets. So this is the first Mughal building with minarets. I will also show the tomb of Akbar also. Where is Akbar's tomb? Yeah. This is Akbar's tomb. This is the inside. And here, if you go enter through this door, you can see the burial place of Akbar. Okay, that is the tomb of Akbar. Then, yeah, I will show you that romance on a stone. That is also here in my gallery. I had seen that right now. Let me see once more. That, yeah, this is the Fatehpur Sikri's romance on a stone. I didn't feel much greatness. Sir, whether he started before his death, how can Akbar start that after his death? He can start that only before his death only, na? After that, Akbar cannot construct. See, the rulers, they used to construct burial places for them even before their death, because death is only one thing which we human can be certain. One day it will be there. So the rulers, they used to construct mega buildings for them. And they say that when I die, please bury there. So that's what Akbar did. Akbar, he wanted to have a good burial place for him. So he began to construct his tomb at Sikandra. But before the completion, Akbar died and Jahangir completed that. Minarets means the plural of minar. If it is single, we call it as simple minar. Okay. And or sometimes we can say in Indian style char minar, teen minar, like that, because 4 minars are there. Char minar, we call it as char minar. But English, the collective plural term for more than one minar is called minarets. Here the thing is that earlier Qutub Minar we mentioned. That minars were independent minar. Only one minar will be constructed. Now, see, look at this picture once more. See, this one. See, this is the Qutub Minar, which is standing alone. Qutub Minar is alone, a single construction. That's why we call single one Qutub Minar. This is a photograph in 1850. Okay, this is a photograph taken in 1850 by some British man. That is this Qutub Minar. But you see this picture. That is what? Yeah. That one more. 1 second. see this minars, 1, 2, 4 are there actually attached to the building. So collectively we call it as minarets. That's all. Then next, Jahangir also introduced a new method of decoration. Jahangir also introduced new method of decoration called Pitradura. Pitradura. It is a beautiful inlay work on stones. Inlay work on stones. That is on marble and all. Beautiful inlay works with semi-precious stones also. Semi-precious stones will be attached to the stone. That is the Pitradura. It's very beautiful. This was introduced by Jahangir. Jahangir introduced Pitradura. If any specific decoration question is asked, that will be Pitradura by Jahangir. I will show that Pitradura. You might have seen this. See, this is a Pitradura from Jahangir's burial place in Pakistan. See, marble, they made this beautiful works. Even now also Pitradura you will get in the shops, souvenir shops and all. Home decor shops. It's there, very expensive. Okay. So this is what is the Pitradura. This model works. Then some other examples like this. All this, you might have seen this all. And if you go to the souvenir shops, you will get something like this. Especially the so-called jewel boxes and all they will give in this Pitradura works. So this beautification, this is started by Jahangir. And this was first used in, Pitradura was first used in the tomb of Itimaduddaulah, this building. Used in the tomb of Itimaduddaulah at Agra. The tomb of Itimaduddaulah. You can see the beautiful building. It is very beautiful. The tomb of Itimaduddaulah at Agra. Father of Noor Jahan. If daughters become so powerful, father will get such big buildings. Itimaduddaulah was a normal man. He was not a very big lord and all, but he got a majestic burial place like the Mughal emperors because his daughter was the Badshah Begum. That was the reason. See, this Itimaduddaullah's tomb, you can see this beautiful works and all. See, full of this Pitradura works. See, minarets now became popular in all the buildings. Minarets is now attached. And one more thing, this is the first Mughal building completely constructed on marble. First building completely constructed on marble, that is white marble, completely constructed on white marble. Completely constructed on white marble. Completely constructed on white marble. Now we'll take a break for 10 minutes. We'll be back. So next, development under Shah Jahan. So the greatest development of Mughal architecture, that was under Shah Jahan. So the greatest development of Mughal architecture, that was under Shah Jahan. He was the greatest builder of the Mughals among the Mughals, and his most important contribution, Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal, that's the most important contribution. It was constructed to commemorate the memory of his wife. It was as a burial place, constructed as a memory of his wife, Arjimond Banu Begum. Arjimond Banu Begum. So it was Arjimond Banu Begum, popularly called Mumtaz Mahal. Popularly called Mumtaz Mahal. So her name is Arjimond Banu Begum. If a statement that Taj Mahal was in the memory of Arjimond Banu Begum, it's correct. It's not wrong. She was popularly called Mumtaz Mahal. Then Taj Mahal, it was constructed with white marble. White marble. Procured from white marble procured from Makrana mines of Rajasthan. Makrana mines of Rajasthan. Makrana mines of Rajasthan. Makrana mines of Rajasthan. And who was the chief architect? Any idea? Who was the chief architect of Taj Mahal? Who was the chief architect of Taj Mahal? Anyone? Can you name the chief architect of Taj Mahal? Ustad Ahmad Lahori. Ustad Ahmad Lahori was the chief architect of Taj Mahal. He was popularly called Ustad Isa. Ustad Ahmad Lahori, popularly called Ustad Isa, was the chief architect of Taj Mahal. Ustad Ahmad Lahori or Ustad Isa, he was the chief architect of Taj Mahal. So you can see the features of Taj Mahal. See the high platform, circular minarets. So you can just, as it is Taj Mahal, you can write that points. That is, this is circular minarets. See, octagonal minarets are also there, but Taj Mahal, circular minarets, double dome is there. Then Petra Dura is used in a big way. Petra Dura is used there. Then Taj Mahal got octagonal plan. Octagonal plan is there for Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is also octagonal. Octagonal plan. Then Charbagh is there. Charbagh. Charbagh style is also used in Taj Mahal. Charbagh style is also used in Taj Mahal. Then where was originally Mumtaz buried? Mumtaz was not originally buried in Taj Mahal. She was originally buried at some other place, and later the body was taken, the remains was taken and buried in Taj Mahal. So where was Mumtaz originally buried? Any idea? Where was Mumtaz originally buried? She was originally buried in Baranpur, Madhya Pradesh. Baranpur, Madhya Pradesh. This was the original place of burial. Baranpur, Madhya Pradesh. So Baranpur, Madhya Pradesh, that was a place where Mumtaz was buried. Baranpur, Madhya Pradesh. So Taj Mahal, undoubtedly one of the most beautiful buildings of India as well as the world. Then next, Shah Jahan also constructed a new capital. Shah Jahan also constructed a new capital in Delhi. Shah Jahan also constructed a new capital in Delhi, and it was called Shah Jahanabad. New capital in Delhi, and it was called Shah Jahanabad. Shah Jahanabad was a new capital constructed by Shah Jahan in Delhi, and the chief constructions were Red Fort. Chief constructions were Red Fort and Jama Masjid. These were the most important constructions of Shah Jahan. Shah Jahanabad, Red Fort and Jama Masjid. Red Fort and Jama Masjid were the most important constructions of Shah Jahan. So you all know what is this Red Fort and all. No need to show the pics, but still I will show that. So Red Fort, Delhi. This is Shah Jahan's construction. Then the Juma Masjid, Delhi. Red Fort and Juma Masjid. Juma Masjid is one of the most famous mosques in the world. So you can see that octagonal minars there. It's not circular. This is Juma Masjid, Delhi by Shah Jahan. Very beautiful one it is. So this is by Shah Jahan, Shah Jahan's most important constructions. Then you can add one more point. Shah Jahan, he renovated all the buildings of Agra Fort. He renovated all the buildings of Agra Fort. Renovated all the buildings of Agra Fort and also constructed the Moti Masjid at Agra Fort. Also constructed Moti Masjid at Agra Fort. So Agra Fort by Akbar, but Agra Fort's Moti Masjid by Shah Jahan. Moti Masjid was constructed by Shah Jahan. Moti Masjid. Then next, Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb. See, Aurangzeb is not that interested in the art and architecture, but still three big buildings, three important buildings were there for Aurangzeb also. And the most important building of Aurangzeb is Bibi Ka Maqbara. Bibi Ka Maqbara. Bibi Ka Maqbara at Aurangabad, Maharashtra, also called Taj of Deccan. Bibi Ka Maqbara, also called Taj of Deccan. Bibi Ka Maqbara, also called Taj of Deccan. See, clearly you can see that the octagonal minars. It was an attempted copy of Taj Mahal, but didn't came out successfully. Bibi Ka Maqbara, Aurangabad. This building is also called the tomb of Rabia ud Dawran, Aurangzeb's wife. This building is called Bibi Ka Maqbara, also called the tomb of Rabia ud Dawran. Rabia ud Dawran was the name given after her death. Aurangzeb named her Rabia ud Dawran after the death, and her original name was Dilras Banu Begum. Her original name was Dilras Banu Begum, a Iranian princess. She was an Iranian princess. Dilras Banu Begum. So this is the first prominent building of Aurangzeb. Then the next prominent building of Aurangzeb is actually a Laws of India. Now it is in Pakistan, Lahore. Very beautiful masjid, Badshahi Masjid. Badshahi Masjid at Lahore. Badshahi Masjid. You can see it's very beautiful. That was by Aurangzeb in Pakistan. Badshahi Masjid. And one more for Aurangzeb. Moti Masjid of Fatehpur Sikri. Sorry, Moti Masjid of Red Fort. Moti Masjid of Red Fort. So two Moti Masjids are there. Agra Fort and Red Fort. So be careful. Agra Fort constructed by Akbar, but Moti Masjid of Agra Fort by Shah Jahan. Red Fort by Shah Jahan, but Moti Masjid of Red Fort by Aurangzeb. So Moti Masjid, also called the Pearl Mosque. Pearl Mosque. Aurangzeb. So these are the three contributions from Aurangzeb. The next point, the Mughal architecture declined under the later Mughals. The Mughal architecture, it declined under the later Mughals. Declined under the later Mughals. And the only prominent building during the later Mughal period was the tomb of Safdarjung. The tomb of Safdarjung at Delhi. Safdarjung was the prime minister of Mughals, later Mughals. And that Safdarjung's tomb at Delhi was the only prominent building during the later Mughal period. The tomb of Safdarjung. So this is regarding the Mughal architecture. One more photo I will show, that the curved arches of Akbar. This is what we call the curved arches. This is the curved arches. Curved arches by Akbar. So that's regarding the architecture during the Mughal period. Architecture. Now moving to another, that is the Mughal paintings. Mughal paintings. Sultans never patronized painting in a big way. So there is nothing called as Sultanate paintings. Mughal paintings. So Mughal paintings were developed by two Persian painters. Two Persian painters. It was developed by, or it was Mughal paintings developed by two Persian painters. See, Humayun, when he came back from Iran, he brought many talented people along with him, and it included two painters. And these two painters were excellent painters, and it was under their leadership Mughal paintings emerged. They were Abdul Samad, and Said Ali. So these two painters, Abdul Samad and Said Ali, they developed the Mughal paintings. So Mughal paintings was developed by Abdul Samad and Said Ali. And initially the Mughal paintings was influenced by Iranian painting. So initially Mughal paintings had Iranian influence. Iranian influence. Reason? Because it was developed by the Iranian painters. Iranian influence. And what all were the Iranian influence? The themes The themes were battle scenes, court scenes, and hunting. So these themes dominated the earliest Mughal paintings, and these themes were Iranian in origin, that Iranian origin. Then all the paintings were miniatures. All the paintings were miniatures. Miniature painting. That is paintings for books and albums, not on the walls and the roofs and all. Small scale painting. That is what is called miniature painting. That is paintings for books and albums. That is called miniatures. Then dull colors. Colors were not that bright. Dull colors. Dull colors was another feature. Then flat brush. That is the strokes. It's not the shape of the brush, how the painting strokes are made. Flat strokes. So these were the influence. Okay. The next point, with the development of Mughal Rajput alliance, with the development of Mughal Rajput alliance, with the development of Mughal Rajput alliance, Mughal paintings came under the influence of Rajput paintings. With the development of Mughal Rajput alliance, Mughal paintings came under the influence of Rajput paintings. Now, nature became a dominant theme. Nature, it became a dominant theme under Rajput influence. Nature became a dominant theme. Then, next is that nature became a dominant theme. Then bright colors. Bright colors. Dark colors like emerald green, dark red, golden yellow, like the golden brown, so many colors, bright colors. Then portrait paintings. Portraits of the leading personalities. Portrait paintings. And you can write that portrait paintings emerged in a big way under Jahangir. Rajput influence started during the period of Akbar, but it became a dominant one. The portrait painting became dominant under Jahangir. And the Jahangir was the most important patron of Mughal paintings. Okay, the most important patron of the Mughal paintings, that was Jahangir. Jahangir was the most important patron of the paintings. Then round brush. Now the Iranian flat brush was replaced with the Rajput round brush. Round brush. So nature, bright colors, portraits, round brush, all happened. The next, later during the period of Jahangir, next point, later under Jahangir, Mughal paintings came under the European influence. Mughal paintings came under the European influence. European influence. And from Europeans, Mughals adopted the effect of light and shade. So more originality was there now. Effect of light and shade. So everything natural, there will be an effect of light and shade. But earlier the Mughal paintings, that light and shade effect was not there. Now from the Europeans, the effect of light and shade was adopted. Then the three-dimensional effect was adopted. 3D effect. Three-dimensional effect, the depth-wise. Three-dimensional effect was adopted from the Europeans. Then the effect of foreshortening was adopted. Effect of foreshortening was adopted, like that photograph effect. What appears in the front will be bigger in size, and what is in the rear will get reduced in that size. The technique of foreshortening was adopted. Then also adopted the themes like halo. Halo. You know that the aura, that yellow color around Jesus Christ, Buddha in their paintings and all, to show the aura of these religious leaders. You can see the same in around Jahangir, Shah Jahan and all. So they adopted that aura, halo. Then the roaring clouds. Roaring clouds in the sense that the clouds, sky is not a monotonous thing. You know that sky is with the moving clouds and all. Earlier Mughal painting, sky was just a blue color, a monotonous blue color. That changed, more originality was there. Can add one more point. The Mughals never adopted the oil paintings of Europeans. Mughals never adopted the oil paintings of Europeans. Mughals, they never adopted the oil paintings of the Europeans. Oil paintings of Europeans not utilized or not adopted. So in this way, we can say that Mughal painting was a mix of Persian, that is Iranian, Indian, and the European styles. The next point, other features, Mughal paintings were secular. That is, no religious theme was adopted. There was no religious theme in Mughal paintings. Secular themes only. Secular paintings. Then Mughal paintings were a teamwork. It's not the work of an individual painter. We have individual paintings like portraits and all, but the majority of Mughal paintings was a teamwork. A good number of artists worked on a project. It was like a project by many. Then the paintings were executed on cloth and paper. Mughal paintings were executed on cloth and paper. Cloth and paper. Then next, most of the paintings were narrative. Most of the paintings were narrative. Narrative paintings. That is, it narrates a story like that. Okay. The next point, majority of painters were Hindus. Majority of Mughal painters were Hindus, drawn from the lower caste. So that brought some social recognition to the lower caste during the Mughal period. Hindus drawn from the lower caste of the society. Then the painting studio, the Mughal painting studio was called Tasveer Khana. Tasveer Khana. Tasveer Khana. That is what the painting studio was called. Tasveer Khana. Then the prominent Mughal painters were Ustad Mansoor, and Bishan Das. The most famous Mughal painters were Ustad Mansoor and Bishan Das. Both were the painters of Jahangir. Mansoor was famous for nature paintings. Bishan Das was famous for portrait paintings. Mansoor was famous for nature paintings. Bishan Das was famous for portrait paintings. And Mansoor's famous paintings are Siberian Crane, Dodo. Dodo is an extinct bird. So Mansoor's famous paintings are Siberian Crane and Dodo. Siberian Crane and Dodo. Bishan Das is famous for portrait paintings, and he was sent as an ambassador to Iran. Bishan Das was sent as an ambassador to Iran Bishan Das, he was sent as an ambassador to Iran. Ambassador to Iran to paint the portrait of Iranian king Shah Abbas first. To paint the portrait of Iranian king Shah Abbas first. Paint the portrait of Iranian king Shah Abbas first. Shah Abbas. So these were the Mughal painters. Let me see whether I have the paintings of any of these painters with me. This is a painting of Shah Jahan. You can see that aura and all around him. See that Shah Jahan standing on the top of the world. That is, the idea is that Shah Jahan is on the top of the globe. He controls the world. Plus, you see a goat and a lion living peacefully. Goat and a lion. So that shows that everyone is living in peace. So this is what this painting meaning and all. So this is Shah Jahan. Then other things of other paintings. Yeah, this is the dodo. This was made by Mansoor then. This is that bird, dodo, extinct bird. And he also had drawn other pics also. This is the painting made by Ustad Mansoor in the which century it is? 17th century, some 300 years back. He made this painting. His Siberian crane is also good painting. I don't have that with me right now. Then what? See, this is the court proceedings or Jarokha Darshan painting. So this is how the normal Mughal paintings were. See, the colors and all now became significant after the Rajput influence. Other than that, the colors were not that bright. So these were the Mughal paintings. Now the prominent Mughal paintings. The prominent Mughal paintings. Tariq-e-Khandani. Tariq-e-Khandani. Taimuriya. Tariq-e-Khandani Taimuriya. This is the first major painting of the Mughals. Literal meaning is the princess of House of Taimur. This is the Mughal painting in which all the Mughal emperors are painted. You can see all the Mughal rulers here. All the Mughal rulers. Right from the father of Babur to Aurangzeb, all the Mughal rulers are painted in this painting. They are seen in this painting. Tariq-e-Khandani Taimuriya. Then Razamnama. Razamnama. Razamnama is Mahabharata. Tariq-e-Khandani means the family of Taimur. That is princess. Its English translation goes like this: Princess of the House of Taimur. Princess of the House of Taimur. That's English translation. But if you translate this, Tariq-e-Khandani Taimuriya means story of the family of Taimur. Khandan, family. Taimur, Tariq, story. Razamnama is Mahabharata. The Persian translation of Mahabharata is called Razamnama, and Mahabharata is painted, that is called Razamnama. Then Anwar Sohail. Another famous painting is Anwar Sohail. Not the name of the painters. Anwar Sohail is the Panchatantra. Panchatantra stories of India. Panchatantra stories. That is painted under the title Anwar Sohail. Then all the paintings related to the Mughal rulers. Babur Nama, Humayun Nama, Akbar Nama, Jahangir Nama, Shah Jahan Nama. Like that, other paintings. These three names you remember. So this is related to the Mughal paintings. Now next, let's see the Rajput paintings. Rajput paintings, as the name suggests, the paintings developed by the Rajput kings. Rajput paintings are divided into two categories: Rajasthani and Pahadi. Though written as Pahari, it is pronounced as Pahadi, hill, Pahad. Rajasthani and Pahadi paintings. Rajasthani painting, that is the paintings developed in the Rajput kingdoms of Rajasthan. Paintings that got developed in the Rajput kingdoms of Rajasthan. That is called Rajasthani painting. Paintings that developed in the Rajput kingdoms of Rajasthan. On the other hand, Pahari paintings are the paintings developed in the Rajput kingdoms of the hilly regions. Pahari paintings are the paintings developed in the Rajput kingdoms of Jammu and Himachal Pradesh. Paintings developed in the Rajput kingdoms of Jammu and Himachal Pradesh. See, Rajputs is a big community seen across the North India. Okay, it's not Rajasthan, though that's the area where Rajputs were prominent. Most of the Rajasthan was ruled by the Rajput kings. That's why Rajasthan came to be called so Rajasthan. But Rajputs, they account for 15% of the population of Rajasthan. Okay, 15%. Rajputs are seen almost equal number in Gujarat, then in Madhya Pradesh, then in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, then Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Jammu. These are the areas where Rajputs are there. Good number of Rajputs are there. Not alone in Rajasthan. Rajputs is not a Rajasthan affair. It is the North Indian affair, across North India. Bengal and all, it's not there, but it will be there. But Bihar, UP, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Himachal, Uttarakhand, and Jammu. So that Himachal region, Jammu region, Rajput kingdoms, that is the Pahadi paintings. Features of Rajput paintings. First one, deeply religious paintings. It is deeply religious paintings. Deeply religious paintings. Then, dominated by nature as a theme. That is, nature is one of the dominant theme of Rajput paintings. Then, primarily based on Radha and Krishna. Radha Krishna love. That is the most important. Radha Krishna plus nature. Okay, Radha and Krishna will be there in every painting, and nature is also dominant in that. So, religious paintings, love of Radha Krishna is portrayed. Nature paintings. Then fourth one, it is the use of bright colors. Bright colors. Bright colors is a feature of Rajput paintings. Then round brush. Round brush. And the last is portrait paintings also. Portrait paintings. Portrait paintings. These are the features of Rajasthani painting. The same is applicable to Pahadi, religious, nature, Radha Krishna, bright colors, round brush. These all are there, but portrait paintings is not that prominent in Pahadi paintings. Portrait paintings is not that dominant. But here some significant changes are there. These paintings are dominated by Shringar ras. Shringar ras. That is love. Love is overflowing in Pahadi paintings. Shringar ras is main theme, and that's why these paintings are erotic. erotic paintings. These paintings are erotic. Then the colors are made of vegetable and fruit dyes. Colors in these paintings are made of vegetable and fruit dyes. Vegetable dyes and fruit dyes. Colors are made of vegetable and fruit dyes. So we can say organic paintings. Colors made of vegetable and fruit dyes. Next. Just 1 second, I'll be back. Okay, welcome back. Now next, let's see some different schools of Rajasthani painting. Different schools of Rajasthani painting. First one, Mewar School. Mewar School of Rajput painting. Mewar School is deeply religious. That is applicable to all the Rajput paintings, but Mewar School, religious. And it is famous for Ragamala paintings. Famous for Ragamala paintings. Ragamala paintings. Famous for Ragamala paintings. Ragamala paintings is the representation of Indian musical ragas. It is the representation of Indian musical ragas in human forms. Representation of Indian musical ragas in human forms. We personified the ragas, and they were also associated with their companions called Raginis. So ragas are males and their companions Raginis. Combined together, it is called the Ragamala paintings. So Mewar School is famous for the Ragamala paintings. Then next is Kishangarh School. Kishangarh. Kishangarh school was patronized by Maharaja Sawan Singh. It was patronized by Maharaja Sawan Singh, popularly called Nagari Das. Nagari Das. Nagari Das. Famous for Nayak, Naiga Bheda paintings. Nayak, Naiga Bheda paintings. Kishangarh school is famous for Nayak, Naiga Bheda paintings. That is Krishna and the gopis. Nayak is Krishna, hero, and the Naigas, the heroines, the gopikas or gopis. Nayak, Naiga Bheda paintings. The most famous painter of this school is Nihal Chand. Nihal Chand was the most famous painter. Nihal Chand. Nihal Chand was the most famous painter, and he painted Bani Tani. He painted Bani Tani, known as Indian Mona Lisa. Bani Tani, known as Indian Mona Lisa. Bani Tani, known as Indian Mona Lisa. Once again, I will take the pic of this Mona Lisa, Indian Mona Lisa. So I will show this Bani Tani. This is Bani Tani, the Indian Mona Lisa. It says that whether she is smiling or crying, I don't know. That's what the Mona Lisa painting significance. This is Bani Tani, known as the Indian Mona Lisa, painted by Nihal Chand. Bani Tani. The next, Nathdwara School. Nathdwara. Another school of Rajasthan, Nathdwara School. Nathdwara School is famous for the Pichwai paintings. Pichwai paintings. Pichwai paintings. And these paintings are made of cloth. Paintings made of cloth with the religious images. With the religious images. With religious images. And these paintings are used to decorate temples. Used to decorate temples and houses. That is hanging paintings. You can hang the paintings in the walls. That is Pichwai paintings. Religious paintings made of cloth, mainly used in the temples and houses. Even today, this is very famous. It is highly in demand in the other parts. That is not in India, not only in India, other parts also it is highly in demand in Nathdwara. Then another famous school is Bundi. Bundi School of Painting. Another famous school is Bundi School of Painting. And this painting is famous for the depiction of female beauty. female beauty or the feminine grace. That was the focus of this Bundi school of painting. Bundi school of painting. So that's the Rajasthani painting. Then in Pahadi painting, the prominent schools are Guler and Basoli in Jammu. Guler and Basoli in Jammu. Guler paintings and Basoli in Jammu. Guler and Basoli in Jammu. And Kangra, Kulu Mandi paintings. Kulu Mandi. Kangra and Kulu Mandi paintings in Himachal Pradesh. Kangra and Kulu Mandi paintings in Himachal Pradesh. Of this, Kangra paintings was influenced by the Mughal miniatures. Mughal miniatures. Kangra painting influenced by Mughal miniatures. That is there. Then Bhakti. Bhakti Rasa was prominent here. In Kangra, Bhakti Rasa was prominent. And the major themes were Gita Govinda, that book written by Jayadeva. The themes was adopted from Gita Govinda and Bhagavad Purana. And Bhagavad Purana. Gita Govinda and Bhagavad Purana. Gita Govinda and Bhagavad Purana. So that is regarding the Rajasthani paintings. Then next, we can see one more painting. Company paintings. What is this company paintings? What is meant by the company paintings? Any idea? What is this company paintings? Paintings patronized by the officers of English East India Company. Paintings patronized by the officers of English East India Company. Paintings patronized by the officers of English East India Company between 1770 and 1850. Between 1770 and 1850. That is called company paintings. The themes were Indian people, Indian festivals, Indian monuments, Indian landscape, and the wildlife, Indian wildlife, everything Indian. Themes were Indian. Indian people, festivals, Indian monuments, Indian landscape, and Indian wildlife. All the paintings were watercolors. All the paintings were watercolors. All the paintings were watercolors. And all the paintings were for albums and books. Albums and books. Albums and books. Then these paintings were urban based. Urban based. With the leading centers Madras, Calcutta, Patna, Delhi, Lucknow. These were the leading centers of these paintings. Urban based paintings. Madras, Calcutta, Patna, Delhi, Lucknow. These were the centers of these paintings. Then the first prominent patron was Elijah Impey. The first prominent patron was Elijah Impey, the first Chief Justice of Calcutta Supreme Court. The first Chief Justice of Calcutta Supreme Court, established in 1774, based on the Regulating Act of 1773. Okay, it was based on Regulating Act 1773, but it was established in 1774. And Elijah Impey, he was the first prominent patron of the company paintings. And the greatest patron was Governor General Wellesley. Greatest patron was Governor General Wellesley. Then the famous painters, Ghulam Ali Khan. Ghulam Ali Khan, Mazhar Ali Khan, Ghulam Ali Khan, Mazhar Ali Khan, and Sevagram. Sevagram. They were the most prominent painters. And the most famous company painting work is Delhi Book, painted by Mazhar Ali Khan. Painted by Mazhar Ali Khan. Delhi Book by Mazhar Ali Khan, that's the most famous work. Delhi Book by Mazhar Ali Khan. And the company paintings declined with the development of photography. Company paintings declined with the development of photography. See, Britishers took the pain was they wanted to show the people in England what India is, how the Indian people, how the Indian festivals and landscape. That's why they painted this. And with the photography, there was no need for this. Okay, that's all for now. We'll see you later. Bye.